Hi, Armin.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to me. Aafat-E-Ishq looks like a blast in different ways. It's funny because I'm watching the trailer, I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, this looks cool, this looks funny, this looks, and it just sort of turns. Tell me a little bit about what was the most compelling part of the script when you read it, when you read about the project, what was the most compelling part? Because there's so many moving parts to it, I think.
Yeah. So, first things first, the story in itself, I think it's very unique and it's not a story that's told every day. I feel that's the win win for any actor because it's a beautiful human story of this girl who wants to find love and wants to find compatibility. And I think that's a thing that we can all relate to in life. So I think that was something which kind of struck a chord with me because it's such a human story. Of course, it becomes more fun with the element of supernatural to it and all these weird incidences that start happening in her life when she goes on to meet all these suitors in her life. So yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting script, which was as soon as I read it, I was like, okay, I got to be a part of this because there's so much as an actor that I can do in this film. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's break down a couple of things that you've said. One of the things is obviously that uh, in terms of supernatural, sort of that element, we've seen it a little bit in Hindi cinema. We've seen it a little bit in series, but it hasn't. I don't think it's been explored necessarily in the comedy aspect, save and except maybe in the last couple of years, we've seen it in a couple of films. Tell me a little bit about sort of the dramedy mixed in with the supernatural and balancing all of that as an actor when you know you have to satisfy different creative components of the script. So how do you balance all of that as an actor?
An actor's job is half well done when you have the director who kind of knows what he wants to make in a film. So I was very blessed to have Indrajit Nattoji, who's the director of our film, who kind of knew from the beginning. I think he sat with the script for really long, and it was his child, so he knew exactly what he needed to do and how he needed to balance the film so that it doesn't go into one particular zone.
Hmm.
Whenever we ask, this was a thing that we were discussing the other day, you know, when people ask me, so what is the genre of the film, we don't want to put it in a box and say that,
Right.
oh, this is like a film, like a horror comedy like this, or it's like a, no, it's not like that. You have to watch it with like a fresh mind because it's not a film like this film or that film. It's a very unique film. And when anyone will ask me what is the kind of film they're expecting, I'm just going to be saying the fact that it's a very human story of this girl who turns 30 and she wants to find love and companionship in life. And then what happens in her story? It's a very human story. And it's got an element of supernatural. Now, this is not a genre I can define. So please don't expect it to be like another film because it's not going to be.
Hmm. What was your favorite part about your character? Because she seems endearing. She seems very endearing. And as you said, it's a human story and there's an instant connect, I think, with her. What was your favorite part about playing this character?
From the beginning, I actually fell in love with Lallo because I felt she's so real and she expresses everything she's feeling. So if when you actually watch the film, you'll realize that she's whatever she feels, it's out there, which is pretty much like me, which I really like. Of course, I try not to be. I really try to be careful with what I say and all because you're always being judged on what you say.
Right.
She's harmless, she's innocent, she's full of love, which I kind of relate to, and I love that about her. She's full of love, she's very giving. Whether it's Bahuji, which is Ilaji's character, or whether it's the men, she's invested in every relationship. Like I mean, suitors. They're really not like a
Right.
relationship, but she's giving her best with everyone, trying to make it work. which is what I love about Lallo. And she's like no other character I've played before. So for me, it was a lot of fun. And if you ask me to pick one thing about her, I cannot, because it's her through the film, whether it's with the suitors, whether it's with Bahuji, whether it's with anyone else, like when you see the film, without revealing too much. I think just her being so lovable is like something I loved about Lallo.
If you were to go on a coffee date with Lallo, once post-release perhaps, what's the one question you'd ask her?
I know her predicament where she wants to find love and companionship with another person, but I would want to give her an advice actually, and not like, I would want to give her an advice that you can start loving yourself first, because when we talk about Pishach in Hindi, which is a character in our film, they feed on a person's insecurity. So whatever you kind of think kind of manifests around you. So I feel like Lallo's insecurities were being manifested through the Pishach character in the film. So I feel like I want to talk to her saying that that love needs to begin from her. She needs to give herself all that love, and she should be complete on her own and not want to find love outside. I don't have anything against finding companionship and love, but I want her to love herself a lot first, and then then try and find it outside.
To wrap up, Neha, one of the things that, of course, about Zee5 is fantastic is that they're putting out different language films and series. They're putting out things that are very diverse for us to watch. Tell me about sort of the advent of the digital era, along with really a focus on, as you said, a human story, but also having a primary focus on women. And I know a lot of people will say, well, we want to get to a point where we're not talking about female lead, male lead. But as a woman myself, I am starting to enjoy watching women-led films and series and short films, because our stories have been so confined to, the Sasbahu serials that we've watched for eons and decades on television. And I'm not knocking those necessarily. They serve a purpose for sure. But I'm starting to enjoy the space that is for women-led cinema and films and theater and short films. Tell me a little bit about sort of your take on what's happening in the digital space, especially playing Lallo and sort of, having a number of suitors, having Namit Das, having so many different kinds of suitors and individuals, but you are sort of the primary focus. What does that mean to you in the year 2021? You've been in this industry for quite some time. So what does it feel like to you today?
I feel like finally long overdue, because I feel we talk about equality, we talk about equal pay, we talk about all these things, but I feel like we were shying away from, I don't know if the writers were actually writing these parts before and they were not getting made, or it's a new, let's say, woman empowerment. I mean, the word has been abused already, but I feel like suddenly you have writers who are writing scripts for women, characters that are about these women, the stories which are about the women and not the stories of the men where women are just part of it. So I feel like that's changing, and it's refreshing, because women are as important to our society as the men, and I feel like these are the stories which are human and we can relate to, and we want to hear their stories and we want to watch those stories. So I feel that it's refreshing, and I also feel that with the advent of OTT, there's not so much pressure of, okay, if this big star is not in the film, then how do we make this? Because it's not about the box office collection. I feel like with OTT, a director has a vision and he can put it out to the audiences and they can watch the film for what it is, without the whole baggage of having a particular star in it to kind of get it the kind of box office collection that it needs. So for me, I think it's a fabulous change and refreshing change, and I feel that these are the stories that were meant to be told a long back, and I feel like finally they are being told, and the audiences are enjoying them to a great extent.
I agree 100%. Thank you so much for your time. All the very best with Aafat-E-Ishq. Really looking forward to this one. One of the few that, the trailer had really had me going really in terms of feeling different emotions. So looking forward to it, and all the very best. Good luck.
Thank you, Armin. Thank you for taking all the time.